I had to order new tires today.
Yeah.
Order them at noon. They were delivered at 5.
But I can, you don't see what I'm.
All right, are we on?
I got a sidewall bubble. And then I was reading up on like the stock tires on my car. Everybody's like, this tire's so. They're
Okay,
pro.
we're on.
Oh, yeah. They send your house.
Yeah, I went through TireAgent.com.
Original spoon or anything.
Let's see.
No, I usually, I'll probably just take it down to Walton and have them put them on. I ordered them tire.
Somebody gonna see if we're on?
And then at 5 o'clock says, come outside. And they're,
Who down? Who down? Who down with the?
It's showing here.
That we're live?
Well,
On that website. See what I'm on, or is that even? I don't think it's working right now. They're all dating that whole one. You used to be able to scroll through.
yeah, I don't think we need to do a few things this one. This is just this bankruptcy filing notice.
she working.
Hey, Mike, will you go on and see if we're on? I got you. Okay, are we talking?
It just blinked out, she's on it though, she's working.
He's working, shows it.
Mike works in this. Yep, see who gets their honors.
We're on. Hi, Mom.
I hear me.
You're way behind, ain't it?
Yeah, there's always.
There is a
delay.
lag, yeah, it's like a.
So the sensors
How's Mr.
speed you out.
Oh, I need time.
We need them, but.
I think for $100, we can get a switch, but right behind Ray's
Yeah.
computer. That's the key, that we can make this happen a lot easier than we do.
Her and I crawling under there, helping each other up before we funny.
Text that.
There's Virginia.
I got my.
Never know, do you?
Yeah.
As it starts to get out of these.
Oh, good. That's my.
Yes, I had everything. Just keep it.
But I still.
Or I lose one.
No, not much. No. Yeah, he did. I got.
Officially.
I think
He's always tries to.
think he had this boat out.
I have 6 o'clock.
You gotta go.
You say we're good?
Yeah, it's just finally in the papers.
Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Great. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this evening and again another opportunity to conduct business for our community. We ask for your wisdom and direction. Give us guidance to make the right decisions. We thank you, Father, for this time of year that we draw a special attention to what you did for us on the cross and your resurrection and that power that lives in us through your Spirit. We thank you for all that you give us in Christ, and it's in his name that I pray.
Amen. All right, Ray, do we have a termination?
We have a determination of quorum with all of council, Mayor Slack and President.
Approval of March 5th, 2026 minutes. Council have any discussion or corrections on such?
The motion and stuff.
Motion by Todd to approve the minutes is written,
I'll second.
seconded by Cliff. All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Thanks. Mike?
Okay. I just have 2 items tonight. The first one is Voyager Canoes, the Powder River Way. So they're asking to be able to stay on our riverbank. May 19th. I've checked the tourism calendar. It looks like they already have them scheduled pending. And I didn't see anything on the city calendar. So I'm asking the council to approve it.
I'm gonna give me three for that.
Motion by Lisa to approve. Second by Rick, all those in favor?
Aye.
That's good, they've done this every year.
Yeah.
They're a good group.
They are.
Okay. And then this is just my quarterly report.
I'm not over now.
Yep.
So, we're just getting through winter, season's starting to pick up. I issued 8 permits for the quarter so far. And that's for the building and zoning and 2 right-of-way permits for Comcast. So, if you have any questions, see me. Nothing else?
Thank you. I have.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it. Jamie, it's a quarterly month, yeah, you can say some more.
Hey.
Hello, everybody.
Hey.
So in your package, you should have the first quarter report for the tax department. I just want to point out that we presented the bike safety program to the kindergarten class. They had a large class this year of 72 students.
Wow.
This is our 19th year of doing this. We go in and provide bicycle safety information and along with a free bike helmet to every child. So if your child went through kindergarten in the last 19 years, then they received a free helmet. So this time of year is a lot of annual permits and inspections and things like that. So we're working through all that. We have completed the annual background checks for the child protection policy on all staff and volunteers. Mike is working on the arts and entertainment permit through the state for both Schroeder and the community center. Certified playground mulch has been placed at the 3 playground areas. Soil and water, they are going to plant some trees down at Denver Seaman Park in memoriam of Tony Hoffman, Holt's mom. Holt is the soil and water president, with a little plaque down there near the pollinator garden that they established last year. We've been replacing some of the dog waste stations in the park system. We've replaced a couple of those and ordered 2 more, and then we've applied for a junior grant to purchase an additional 2 of those. We did have some issues with some toilets at the community center earlier in the year. One was replaced and another one was fixed. It was the caulk or the seal around it was not good, so that was repaired. We did have another leak in the roof at the community center, thinking maybe because of so much snow that we had that it filled up, but that roof's been having some issues of leaking in the last few years. And like I said, we've had some of the annual inspections, fire with the fire extinguishers and emergency exits, and then the kitchen suppression system at the community center has also been inspected. That's semi-annual inspection. On the last page, you will see rentals and some classes, and then also some of the more outstanding purchases that aren't typical monthly expenses that we did during the 3rd quarter, our 1st quarter. Any questions?
Most expensive. Alright.
Very expensive. It's certified mulch because it goes on the playground.
It's that really stuff. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Gary.
Hey, Mike, how do we kill the music? It's kind of a little disturbing. By this point, thank you. I think you know how to do it.
But I don't know where it's coming from.
Thank you. I knew you'd be the
Mr.
man.
Dixon.
Andrew, you have anything for us?
Nope.
All right. Moving right along to rate utilities and contracts, Mr. Jeff Peters.
Hello all, I appreciate the opportunity to be here. Kind of an update on your project, we started this a couple years ago. Delayed, waiting for grant funds to see if they would arrive. We did get $1.5 million in grant funds, but now it's been 1.5 or 2 years later. So the engineers have revisited the cost of the project due to inflation, delays, etc. You've also had inflationary costs in the operation of your utility since then. So when we get to the point of issuing bonds, a couple things have to be current. One would be the audits on the city and the utility, which are currently in order. So hopefully those will be coming soon. We need those in order to apply for bond rating. The other thing that the bond market will want to see is current rate study that covers what it is that you want to do. So the skinny on what the USB had me put together was one scenario at 20 years of amortization of the debt and one at 15 years. The 20-year fits within the rate structure that you all passed a couple of years ago, so you would not have to have a rate increase. The recommendation and the preference of the USB, though, is to pursue a 2% rate increase for the electric utility in order to reduce that amortization to 15 years, which we believe would save interest costs of about $722,000. 2% rate increase for a normal residential user would be about $2.46 per month. And that's based on a monthly bill today at $142.05. That would increase approximately to $144.52. I believe Ray did disseminate to you both those rate studies at 15 and 20. And we can run through those if you want, or I can walk you through more of kind of the thoughts of the USB. Do we need to go back through the rate studies and how that's calculated? Just basically a back end of here's what it costs to operate, here's what the debt service costs, here's what your rates generate, and the difference is what you need to raise the rates in order to continue to make those payments. Coverage is in there at 125% of debt service. So it's not 1-to-1. And the reason it's 125% is that's what the market expects, that you will have a cushion of 25% so that you have any fluctuations. The cash fund or the cash reserves of the operating fund at this point are sufficient. In fact, they're more than sufficient. So I know there are some capital needs of the electric utility that will potentially come up in the next year or two. You should still have cash on hand to meet those obligations and continue to operate. Next rate increase would be whenever the inflationary costs again kind of exceeds what it is your revenue stream is. However, this is a little bit different scenario than what you've had in the past because you should be getting a new set of rate users as this development occurs in southern Dearborn County. So you should have an increase in operating revenues to them, which will help hopefully offset some of your inflation costs as you go forward. So maybe it'll be multiple years out before you have to look at another rate study. The USB's directive to me was to have this conversation with you in hopes that you would come to a consensus of which way you want to go. so that we can have first reading at your May 2nd meeting. I'm sorry. Yeah, today's April 2nd. First reading at your May 2nd meeting to look at rates. Then second reading and adoption at your meeting in June, so that we would have those rates established, which should dovetail into us going and getting the bond rating. The things that the USB wanted me to touch on that helped sway their decision is interest savings, which we talked about. It's going to be about $722,000, estimating today's rates. The rates getting the fair share of out of city ratepayers. So one is this new development that's going to be outside of the city limits. The city of Rising Sun actually owns its utilities. The people of Rising Sun established that, spent their dollars, and it is an asset that they own. However, you use it to provide you service, but also service to the outside. So if you somehow subsidize the utility with city funds, then the people inside the city are basically subsidizing the services that are going to be provided outside the city. The other part to look at that is the boat. The boat is the primary user of your electric utility. So anything that you do as taxpayers to bring that cost down, you're subsidizing the boat as well. So that was one of their thoughts. Previous rate study structure for self-sufficiency. We've had these discussions, Ray and I were talking right before we came down. You know, it's been 20 some years that we talked about getting the utilities so that they were self-sufficient. And I believe probably not that long ago, not a full 20 years, but a long time ago, you established that the utilities would have rates sufficient to make payment in lieu of taxes to the city. And again, it's that same philosophy of when we provide services to people outside the city who don't pay taxes to the city, yet the city owns the utility, it should be compensated and have as part of its rate structure a payment in lieu of payment in lieu of tax back to the city to help support services.
That's considered pilot. It's what's in your budget stuff, and it comes back in the amount of 250, 260, or 250.
I think it might be 250 for that.
Yeah.
So some of this is way over my head, but is that a second rate? You know, inner city people pay a rate. Outside the city, they pay a different rate?
No, you have a uniform rate, but all of the pilot payment goes back into the general funds of the city in order to support services inside the city. So by people outside paying the same rate as the people inside, part of their money gets peeled off and used only for the services of those people who live inside. There are certain times that you can do disproportionate rates.
Right.
It's a lot more complicated. Sometimes you draw lawsuits from such things. But you know, that is something we can look into if you're interested in it.
I don't know what we're interested in, other than I don't want to raise rates.
Yeah.
You know,
This
before we go
option that
to
you're
the-
talking about, though, is separate from whether we did 15 or 20 years. Is that
Yeah, the
correct?
15 or 20 is where we're gonna go with the discussion of whether we raise rates or not.
Right.
Or, I guess the alternative we kind of floated or talked about at the USB is, okay, well, how do we get both? How do we not raise rates and only amortize it across 15 years? You would have to cut the pilot payment coming from the electric utility, which means now you're starting to subsidize that rate structure
Again,
for those people that are on the outside. And it goes back 20 years to what we've been trying to do, which is make a self-sufficient utility that pays its fair share back to the city.
And that would only be on private households, because then we would also subsidize businesses. Is that right within the city?
I mean, you provide services to those businesses out of your general fund as well. So, yeah, you would be subsidizing. The people and the properties inside Rising Sun would be subsidizing those outside that receive the service at the same rate. The other couple of points that USB wanted me to touch on is small incremental rate increase. When we had the big rate increase the last time, council said, boy, it sure would be nice to have smaller increases in shorter periods of time than waiting until multiple years. So they thought, this being 2 years out, probably would be good to do the small one. And yeah, I'd be happy to answer any questions, or we can go down that debate of raising rates.
You say again with the average household would be.
Average household,
246, I think.
$2.46.
yeah, today they pay approximately 142.05 a month. And with the new 2% increase in rate would be 144.52 a month, which is an increase of $2.46.
I mean, if we do 15 years, it comes off to $700,000.
Correct.
And it's done in 15 years.
And it's done in 15 years. So you'll pay a lesser rate of interest as well as less interest because you're only in debt for that 15 year instead of a 20-year period.
We're on the hook because it's been 2 years since it's been offered. We had to wait on this grant, correct?
Yes, but to get $1.5 million, yeah, we'd wait a while. That was a good choice.
Okay.
So you're asking for not just 2% this year, you're asking for to be able to adjust that up to 2% every year is what I think I read, right?
No,
Mm.
this is a 2%. The amount of the next rate increase, we will not know. I'm just saying, if you have a stagnant revenue line, yet everybody continues to get pay increases and the cost of operating continues to go up, eventually you'll have to reset those.
And is this development? The sure thing?
A bunch of the Bluffing Creek project.
Yeah.
I think the first part's supposed to be 18 or is it 31? All right. I think the first part is supposed to be 18, Todd.
It's
Condos, units.
What year did the?
I thought by the grant, am I wrong that it was 2 years?
She is at 28, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
Supposed to be done by 28.
Or
most of his like zoning issues and such coming out where I think he's got passed, so it's just a matter
Okay.
of.
I think that's been his biggest,
It was.
so. That was my understanding from the SEI Ready grant was it was a 2 year out.
Yeah, it's a good question because honestly, that project is one of the big benefactors of why we received that ready grant. So,
Right.
That and the fact that we're radio feed, they have 1 feed in.
Right, right.
So this is an upgrade to your electric as well.
Right.
This,
And we have enough for future growth. It helps with that too, if that may be.
Yes, you get to revamp your system and you're prepared to respond to anything that is potentially coming.
For housing some.
it allows us to kind of do what we do now. I understood it right, if we had an electric guy here, but we have, you might be able to help me, we have basically 2 setups. If one goes down, the other one covers it.
Sure.
This will allow an upgrade of the same caliber, only much better. So, I mean, when you have 1 way in and 1 way out for electric, you're kind of held hostage.
True. In terms of a decision tonight, from what you said, we would kind of be looking at either 15-year or 20-year. But then we'd kind of be starting down that road. May then would be the official first reading.
Yeah,
June would be the second reading, so there'd be time for public input.
yeah, so Pete asked me to let him know
for
what's
us.
going on, so
We're not locked in
Yeah, Jeff,
100% on.
from the process standpoint, USB just needs to know if if we're gonna be moving through that process on the 15-year, which would be a 2% increase, or on the 20-year, because then they'll have to do, if there's a rate increase, they're gonna have to introduce the ordinance. Which would come here. So basically like first reading, introduce the ordinance, then we publish notice of a public hearing. And then at second reading, that's when you have your formal public hearing, and it would be adopted at that time if that's what council wants to do. But Pete's gonna be preparing all that, so he just needs to know which route he's going.
Capital said 16 units.
Yeah, he'll have to prepare the ordinance.
He must be on the,
Yeah, because if you decide you're not going to raise the rates, then the default is the rates stay as they are, and they have to do the 20-year period.
So if we were to pursue the 20-year with no rate increase.
Yes.
Right now, that doesn't mean there might not be a need for a rate increase 2 or 3 years from now, right?
Correct. Also, these bonds with the length of them typically will be callable within 10 years. So you can't call them in the first 10-year period, but anytime after that, you can call them with no penalties. You just have to pay any interest that is accrued at that point in time. And you make interest payments every 6 months, but you can call all the principal. So if you decide 10 years down the road that you want to get rid of this debt and you have sufficient funds to do that, you can do it at that point. Now, obviously, the interest savings aren't near as much, because if you start out with 15-year financing,
you're paying more interest. Start now.
well,
I mean, on your other side.
yeah, the other side. Yes.
I understand that the $2.47 for this year doesn't bother me to cut 5 years off and save $750,000. But this is not the end of it. Every year, we're gonna be looking at this, and then INFA keeps raising their rates. You know, it's like so kind of guide us through that a little bit, because like I know the city hasn't raised their rates since we raised them 2 years ago, but the rates have went up. And I think it's because we're paying INFA more, and therefore the utilities has to charge more. Is that correct or not?
Yes, it's a never ending cycle.
Yeah.
The only way it's not a never ending cycle is if you're in a community that is growing faster, so that you're getting more users and more revenue to combat that inflation. Which you are not, other than this potential product.
So this, I think back to my original question, I probably didn't state it correctly. This $2.47 just gets us in the game for the 15-year rate.
Yes.
We're gonna have to maintain that then from here out. We're gonna be locked into that, right?
Yes.
So whatever that number is, we don't know down the road. It could be a lot more to keep us in that. Right?
Correct. And when you pass that bond ordinance, you pledge that you will install rates sufficient to maintain operations, capital, and
And that
pay all the debt.
goes back to my original question, is that a 2%, that's not a 2% cap, right? Per year, that's a guarantee that we're gonna raise the rate. 15-year parameter.
Even
Yes,
if we,
now, the one thing about the 15-year parameter, when we do these now, we have the 125% debt service coverage. We don't have to measure that every year and come back and say, oh, you have to cover that.
Okay,
We just have to never default, obviously, on the bonds. And if it gets to the point where you're consuming cash, you do have, again, a good sizable balance in the cash reserves of the operating fund.
right.
But when that starts to eat into that cash, utility service board is going to come back to you and say, hey, you agreed that you would install these rates so that we can do all these things.
Right.
And now we're not making. But I don't know what percent that is, in what year it hits, or how much.
So you might not be the right person to ask, has the utilities committed to holding so much cash back until we get this done?
We talked about cash reserve. The minimum that they need to hold back is 2 months operating. They have considerably more than that. But at USB, the question was brought up that, hey, we're gonna need a new truck of some sort. I don't pretend to know what kind of truck or whatever, but potentially it'd be a couple $100,000.
Right.
Yes, you can cover that, continue to do what you're doing. So this is not, putting them in a cash strapped position.
No, I wouldn't think.
Yeah, is it true though, the things that Britt's concerned about, they're gonna be factors, they're gonna be there whether we go 15-year or 20.
Correct.
Right.
That's what I was looking at,
Yeah, that,
no matter what.
yeah, that we don't increase the likelihood of other increases or significantly impact what those increases will be.
So I had the
By-
same thing.
whether it's a
Brett,
15
I
or
brought up
20
the
years.
same thing.
It's,
You'll have to raise, you will likely have
The
to raise. the rates.
inflationary costs
Either
are
choice.
gonna drive other rate increases down the road.
yes.
And Capel did come
Here,
back and
whatever
say
the
that
loan rate is.
Enfa's rates went down 4.7 last year. So that was a good thing.
Yes, sir.
The 2% now gets, allows you to move forward with a 15-year if that's what you want to do. But yes, if other things come up in that 15 years, I mean, rates that are not enough to meet your obligations by statute are unlawful. That's what it says in statute. If your rates don't meet your obligations, they're unlawful. So you're like, the city's not allowed to prop up, you know, by statute.
The sewer system.
Yeah, so if something comes up, by all means, I mean, I'm of the opinion, I think it should be a statute that you should have to do a rate study every 3 years. I think that should be required by statute because too often people, because nobody wants to raise rates, you know what I mean? Like too often.
Since 82.
It was.
It was a long time.
Hey,
Over 20 years, yeah.
I was just-
It's electric increases, yeah, so that's why it was such a change at once.
And, you know, that's not uncommon, you know.
Because nobody wants to do it.
Exactly. Nobody ever wants to do it, so they delay it until they get, and they defer maintenance
8 cents a day.
until it gets to the end, and then you have to do the.
That's all, 5 years. 6, 7.
Right.
And it makes it fair all of
It
everything.
does.
And the average, if I want, it's not a big bird for the average, yeah, since we just had a pretty big increase fairly recently, it's not a big hit, this is not much.
Right.
The total increase was what, 24%?
Which is a lot.
First time, I believe so.
I did the math and it's 8 cents a day,
8 cents a day.
average.
I'm doing like out my house, that's the way that I would wanna go.
Abby's is awful.
It'll cost me about $8 a month, I just figured more extra, cause I use a lot of electric at times in my outbuilding, so, and I use a lot of electric. That's a lot more than the average.
So- This is my last question on this.
You have to do many of
This
this.
ordinance that's to be adopted is going to say what?
It is going to restate the rates as to where they are and what your new rates are gonna be, which everything's gonna go up basically 2%,
Which is, yeah, okay.
which is, yeah, the numbers we're talking about.
Okay,
2% on electric,
2% on the electric,
yeah,
yeah,
that's the sewer and water, that's.
correct. Sewer and water at this point, I
Exactly, it's
believe
good
are.
that the public knows that, it's just part of the utility, right?
right.
Yeah, and again, the need for this is, this has to be current in order to go through with bond issue.
Yeah.
Because bondholders will want to see, we studied it, here's the math that proves that you can pay it back.
If we went the 20 years, does that make it harder to sell these bonds? Or for someone to,
The shorter they are, the better they'll sell. So 15 will still sell
Will
better
sell.
than 20. Wow, more demand.
Yeah.
So like, this is a different question. So the $2.47 per resident equals how much? Do we know what that is? Over the 15 versus the 700 and something we're saving? Did you run those numbers?
the increase in income.
I did not run those numbers.
The increase, yeah, the increase versus the actual savings.
That wasn't.
I don't know. how many makes sense.
47 times
I mean, I think it's
12
smart to go
times.
cut it 5 years and, yeah, save the interest. But I'm just curious
I don't know how.
to how many people that affects and what the trade-off is.
Yeah.
Because
$50,000 a year.
Yeah, but I,
Interest savings, but interest said not how.
What.
Yeah, I don't, again, the individual users, you know, the average user versus the mayor who uses 3.5 times that amount versus the vote that uses 50% of the entire service.
Librarians.
Yeah,
Yeah,
For your average. For your average user at $247 a month, 12 months for 15 years, it's an increase of $445 over that 15-year period.
Somewhere there has to be a number that's been used to come up with this 246, 47.
I think it's just.
you wanna go through that number?
Well, wouldn't that be with the multiplier that then we would multiply the 246 by to know what the increase in income is, which would be Brett's question.
Yeah.
Well, the total increase in income is in the rate study. So if we look at the 15-year rate study, it walks you through the math of how we get to that. What I don't know is how much is attributable to each of the rate payers. Considering the vote
What
and so
page
forth.
is that?
So let's see.
Either.
Third page in is adjusted base year, so that shows all of your operation and maintenance expense. Fourth page looks at operation and maintenance, debt service, capital reserves. So total net revenue requirements. We need revenue to be 5.564 million. So if we look at page 5, it looks at the base year revenue. So revenue today is about 5.5 million. Then with interest, other revenue, 541. Total O&M is a little over 5 million, so you've got a surplus of 463. Debt service and coverage at 125% needs to be 502,969. And your reserves. So you are short under your current structure by $64,811 for the year. So that 2% is on the new rate column. That puts you positive 30,916 a year.
So we're looking at $95,000 a year from the 2% increase.
You know, what he was saying is it might be 247 to the average home, but the boat and
Right.
other entities are offsetting that to make that only 247.
Right, right. But in terms of a bottom line number, how much more the utility is receiving, it's about $95,000 a year.
But
Is that
at
right?
the top line, one minus the other, it's 103 roughly. But yeah,
Yeah, I was adding the bottom line.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but close enough. Okay. I think maybe we're all at the same point, but the 15-year makes sense and the money we save, but none of us like an increase.
yes.
Not having increases in the past what's got us in the trouble.
You're right.
And if we don't do something now, we're gonna end up in that way in the future.
You're right.
So what action do we need to
No action.
take tonight?
Just,
Well, but
we gotta give him a.
don't we at least have to accept
15 years.
the utility board's recommendation? So that they can start moving through the steps.
If you,
Is that-
if you want us to do 15 years, then
Yeah, I think-
get that started.
I think you make a motion to move forward with the utility service board recommendation. And then that way Pete can start putting what he needs to together.
Then the first reading will be
And then
next month.
there's still 2 months for.
Yeah.
for
It said May 2nd, May 7th.
We'll do the first reading on the next meeting and then.
Yeah,
Has a month for
it is.
discussion and the
May
vote
2nd to
the
Saturday.
vote would be assumed in June.
I only hear certain things. What my wife said.
I got that same thing.
I want to make a motion to accept USD's recommendation.
I'll make the motion.
So moved by Lisa,
I'll second.
second by Don. All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Thanks, Jeff, so much.
Hey, thank you guys so much.
Appreciate you.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thanks, Jeffrey.
Good job with that.
It's always tough.
Yep. All right, we're about done. I didn't have time for this to be on the agenda because this did miss the last yes or Board of Works meeting. The Rising Sun Main Street Group is asking if they can have a street closing on April 25th, 2026. You guys have it in your bag.
Yeah.
Okay, you know, just
Yeah, right.
it's basically for a half hour, 9:30 to 10 a.m. And obviously you guys have looked at it, it's for an opening day parade for our Little League.
Oh,
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
They do that in Martinsburg, it's fun.
Yeah.
They're putting together,
I like that.
Abby, Fox has already put together a real cool big banner to put in, maybe coming into town, and then they're gonna have a little parade. That's half hour time. But
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
do feel like that we need a motion to, we always do to close street, either Board of Works or council, so we need to do that tonight in order to make the time frame.
I'll make a motion, we do that for the opening day.
All right, motion by Todd to approve the opening day parade and the street closing.
Second.
Second by Britt, all in favor?
Aye.
Yeah, thanks. And I'll get this to the sheriff department prior so they know. That'll be neat. Important dates, Good Friday, which is tomorrow, April 3rd. Your Sunday, obviously, Sunday morning. District meeting that on Ray's behalf.
Yes.
You want talking about that or not?
I failed to bring the agenda, but I sent it out.
You guys.
So you guys should have got it. So I've only got Cliff down. Now, if you guys can come just for a little bit, please do. I thought you might be. But you know, we'll have lunch at 11:30-ish, 12. I mean, if you can't make lunch, you can only come for an hour or so. Please just come and,
Drop in.
you know, it's very informative.
It's April the 10th.
Mhm.
Week from tomorrow.
Yes.
Debbie's.
Yes, Debbie's coming.
Where's it at?
We've got, I think,
Full house.
55, 50 or 55, so.
I'm on nights, but I'll make them.
The big window to show
Yeah.
up for it'll be nice. She's put a lot of time in it, organizing it. So.
Slow me down.
All right.
You'll hear Tammy talk.
She wanted a special guest, but
Yes.
Ernie couldn't get him.
Yeah, I did. We did try for that. Thank you.
All right, next Board of Works meeting will be Thursday, April 30th at 4. Todd, how's that with you?
Good.
Good. Assume you're fine, Don, we'll fast. Or Cliff, sorry.
Yeah.
Got you. Next council meeting will be Thursday, May 7th at 6 P.
I'm having surgery May 5th. So I don't know if I'll be able.
Well,
That's having the shoulder, I just tore my shoulder.
that's understandable.
So. I'm feeling good, I'll be here. Somebody got it in great.
Put it out, how about you tore up?
You might, I just got tears. And the whole thing.
It'll be sore then, we'll see. I do not have any other miscellaneous. Is anyone here, council, Ray?
Go on vacation in 16 days.
Who's counting?
Yeah.
2 weeks on this one, right?
Yep, 2 weeks. So, anybody that wants to come in and work at my desk, have at it.
We'll clean it, you won't be able to find it.
Yeah. It might be a good deal.
Need more stuff. We don't have any public to ask for comments. So council has had time to review the claims. I would ask that there's any changes or any discussion on it. If not, I would ask you to approve the claims.
I'll make a motion to accept it.
That motion by Cliff to accept the claims are given.
I'll second that.
So by Todd, all those in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous.
She's got them on here.
Guys, make sure and get it signed. If not, It's really good in order. I ask for a motion to
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
by Don adjourned.
I'll second.
Second by Lisa. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion meeting adjourned. Love beer.
Yeah.
We kill it down here.
Yeah.
We ought to look at the flip switch up here.
Yeah.
You switch.
I need switch.
Where is
So- Yeah,
Yeah, I almost didn't get back up.
There you go.
All right. The full speaker, did we go out? Right.
Revolving loan, or not revolving.